In the book of Second Timothy, Paul's in prison, and he writes to Timothy to encourage him. That's that's something there. Somebody who's in prison writing to somebody who's not in prison to encourage them. That was the depth of Paul's Christianity. But what I really want to talk about is his encouragement in verse 15 of that chapter. And then the King James, it says, study to show yourself approved. Study. New King James says, be diligent to present yourself approved to God. The New Living Translation hints at it a different way, but it all means the same thing. It means study. Paul studied all of his life. That's evidenced by let me find it here. That's evidenced by when he was also in prison. And he told Timothy in chapter 4, verse 13, he says, when you come, knowing that Timothy was going to come and visit him, he says, when you come, bring the cloak that I left with Carpus at Troas. It was cold in the house where he was staying, where he was imprisoned. And then he says, also the books, and above all, the parchments, the writings of other men of God were more valuable to him than anything else. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. For you see, many notable preachers and pastors through the years have been known for their large, huge, sometimes, libraries, not just of Bibles, but of Bible commentaries, uh, Bible encyclopedias, Bible dictionaries, other works by other pastors. Charles Spurgeon lived from 1834 to 1892. He was often nicknamed the Prince of Preachers. He had about 12,000 books in his own personal library. About 6,000 of those have been preserved in the Spurgeon Library at the Master's Seminary. And his collection included many rare books. Over 1,000 of them were printed before the 1700s. He was an avid reader and a book collector. John Beeke, a Reformed pastor, theologian, author, chancellor and president of the Puritan Reformed Seminary. He had 30,000 books in his library. And you say that's excessive. I say, no, it's not. And I'm going to explain why I know it's not in a few minutes. Other notable people that you would probably call the name of, or remember the name as I call it, would be Adrian Rogers. He had a huge, huge personal study and library. And even modern pastors, evangelists, they have at their access now through their phone. They have access to thousands of books that they can read while they're in a hotel room, while they're anywhere. They can study to show themselves approved unto God. Preachers traveled throughout history, especially the old Methodist circuit riders. They would travel by horseback, and they were known as the saddlebag preachers. But if you were to look in their saddlebags, You wouldn't find food and other things like that. You would find their saddlebags were packed full as they could get it with books to support what they were preaching. When the Apostle Paul told Timothy, study to show thyself approved, I have actually heard preachers say, that's why you need to read the New Testament over and over. Well, let me tell you a secret. When Paul wrote that to Timothy and told him to study, the New Testament was not even compiled yet. Oh, sure, you probably could have read some of Paul's letters, and maybe at the writing of this, maybe one or two of the Gospels had been written out and were being distributed, but the book of Revelation wasn't. What was he telling him to study? Well, for number one, he was telling him to study the Torah and the prophets, the Psalms, everything that was written, study it. He said, because within the pages of that, you'll find life. And not only that, he encouraged Timothy, I promise you, he encouraged him to read historians of the day, like Josephus, and to read what they had to say about subjects. Study to show yourself approved. Now, I will admit that not everything is worth studying, but everything is worth considering. And during that study, you're rightly dividing what's true and what's not true, and casting aside what's not true. Peter Cartwright, 1785 to 1872, was known as the backwoods preacher. He was one of those Methodist circuit riders. John Wesley, the founder of Methodism, was a circuit rider. He traveled over his lifetime over 250,000 miles on horseback. Do you realize that's right at 5 times around the entire circumference of the world, if you were to add that up? And everywhere he went, his saddlebags were packed with books. The horse was their home. The saddlebag space was reserved for essential reading. And like I said before, Paul told us in 2 Timothy 4:13 how much he valued the books and the parchments that he had. Listen, study to show yourself approved. In my own library, I don't have 12,000 books, but I guarantee you I've got close to 100 books. I've got commentaries. I've got I've got other books written by other men that some of them I have taken with a grain of salt, but some of them I've taken as gospel because what they say in those books, I can back it up with scripture. And all of those books mean something to me. And that's why I write books. I write books to help people. I want you to consider that today. It's more than just going to church on Sunday. Study to show yourself approved.